Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Accidental Isolation, where I like to bring on a guest to speak about a moment in their life where they found themselves isolated, whether that is physically, mentally, or emotionally. Today, we have an incredible guest, the founder and creator of the formula, Mo. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm so blessed to have her on the show. I've seen her work for the past year and a half, and when I say it's incredible, like
Thank you.
it's dope. And recently found out that she's just kind of starting this is shocking because, like I said, like it's really dope, and I've just seen a lot of the work that she's been doing. So I like to think the guests to be on the show and just giving their time. For one, being on the platform, and two, having this vulnerable conversation with me. So I just want to thank
Definitely.
you for that.
I'm happy to be here. I just told him I love to talk, so
Oh
I'm
yeah, oh
excited to
yeah.
be
We
here.
love the talking, so we're gonna see what we can get into. Let's let the viewers and the listeners get to know a little bit about you. So about where you're from, what do you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hey, y'all. Like Chauncey said, I'm Mo. I'm a Maryland native, but I've been in the North Carolina area for the past 7 years, and I've been in Charlotte for the past 3 years. I went to A&T, Aggie Pride,
Everybody went to
and
A&T.
yeah, literally everyone. So, like Chauncey said, I am the owner and founder of The Formula, which is a creative agency based here in Charlotte, really built to just empower emerging brands and artists through strategy, operations, and design. Outside of the consulting work that we do, we also host our own events just to really build community and create a space for creativity and inclusion within the Charlotte community. So, I'm excited to be here. It's a little bit about me.
Oh yeah, yes. Like I said, that's I met Mo from a friend, a mutual friend, and I went to a few of her events and like curated from the time you step in to the time you leave. It's personalized for the user experience. So as we spoke before, you know the meaning, and the audience and everybody else knows the meaning of accidental isolation. And if you don't, feel free to go back to our pilot episode where we dive deep into accidental isolation. So Mo, what does that look like for you? A moment in your life where you may have been isolated.
Yeah, I feel like it's two pivotal moments in my life
Okay.
that have really contributed to where I am today. I think the first one was in 2020, middle of the pandemic. I had just graduated from school like earlier that spring. I ended up moving back to Maryland. And when I moved back to Maryland, I told myself I'm only going to be here for 6 months. I actually planned to move to New York. I had a job offer in New York and everything. But again, it was the middle of the pandemic, and I just didn't think that made sense for me to make that move then. So stayed in Maryland for 6 months. I had the time of my life. Like I have a bunch of friends that I grew up with. Like I had so much fun in Maryland. And I think that's why I put a time limit on
Yeah,
why
because
I
you knew you
said
can get comfortable.
I was gonna get comfortable, which I did. So December came around. I was traveling. Flights were dirt cheap. It was a horrible time for the world, but hey, it was lit for me. I'm sorry.
For me, it was great.
For
Look.
me. But yeah, I ended up in December, which was the 6th month that I was there. I ended up catching COVID, and I can say I was being irresponsible. I will say that.
So when they said stay in the house, don't be
I was
around
not
more than
in the
three
house. I
people.
was outside. Okay, I was outside, y'all, for real. But yeah, I ended up getting COVID. I ended up giving my mom COVID.
Oh man,
And that was kind of like, all right, you're doing too
yeah, you gotta
much.
slow down.
Slow down. So I remember as soon as I found out I had COVID, I literally booked a hotel for 2 weeks. So I was in the hotel all by myself. That was physical isolation,
Yeah,
which was like, I can be by myself. So it wasn't the worst, but I just think like one, me like finding out I gave it to my mom. And then
yeah,
I think my brother as well. It just kind of like, it was a lot going on mentally. And then I think at that moment, it was almost like God was kind of just pushing me to like, okay, you said you were going to be here for 6 months. So like, I really feel like that was like a tool to
yeah.
like,
Get you out. A little boost to get you
yeah, a
out.
little
Yeah,
boost. So, me and my mom, she was definitely upset with me, which I
of course,
understand.
because
You know,
I
I
told
was
your ass to sit down,
exactly, hey, she's going to watch this. So.
and you decided to go outside with your little friends.
Exactly. So then at that moment, she was like, like, I just don't think you're taking things serious.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's just probably best if you, mind you, had a good job. She was like, it's probably best if you find your own place to stay.
Yeah,
And like I said, I'm from Maryland, born and raised, didn't even plan on moving back for 6 months. So I knew I wasn't going to be paying. I was living rent free
yeah.
at the time. So when the question came of like, okay, I got to move out my own, I'm like, I'm not moving anywhere in Maryland. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not what I wanted to do. And I knew I would find myself comfortable. So I literally went on Facebook Marketplace, and like 5 minutes into my search, I found this industrial loft. It was beautiful. It reminded me of New York, even though it was based in Charlotte.
Okay.
But it reminded me of New York. And I'm like, if I'm not going to move to New York, I at least want my home
To feel like it.
to make me feel like I'm in New York. It was like literally all this happened in the span of like 2 to 4 weeks. But
when you're in the hotel and shortly out there.
in the hotel, like I got to figure out my next move. So like once my quarantine finished, I ended up like going back to my mom's house. I packed my stuff. I drove back to Greensboro. One of my best friends, we were roommates our senior year in college. She was still living in our apartment. So I ended up just like moving back in for like 2 weeks. During that time, I came to Charlotte, and this was like I had been to Charlotte before, but never really like
been in Charlotte.
Charlotte. So it was like I ended up coming up here, looking at the place, touring it, signing my lease, and I signed on a 6-month lease because I still had the impression like, okay, I'm gonna just move to Charlotte for 6 months,
go to New York,
still go to New York. Like my mind was dead set on New York. So I was here. I moved like a couple days before New Year's. So I spent my New Year's in my new condo. It's beautiful. Like that itself was like coming out of coming out of quarantine. So just literally physical isolation into like just a whole new chapter. Like literally. And that, it changed everything. Like I still had the mindset I'm going to move to New York, but I ended up like getting a 6-month lease here. At the end of my 6 months, which would be like the start of summer, I was going to renew my lease again for another 6 months, but I was going to sublease for the first 3 months and go to LA for the summer. I'm like all over the place. But so I went out to LA, flew out there, found an apartment, and at the moment that I was going to sign my sublease contract, I still had to confirm my lease renewal for Charlotte.
For sure, okay.
So I ended up reaching out to my landlord, and I'm like, hey, I want to like renew my lease for another 6 months. And he was like, well, I'm about to sell it, so like you have to move.
Oh wow.
I'm like, whoa.
You could have told me that. Come on.
Yeah, it was like that kind of like, whoa, it shifted me. I wasn't expecting that. And then I had to kind of just sit with myself, and I'm like,
And you were in LA. Like you was in LA when you called him and stuff.
I flew to LA. I was about to sign my lease, but I just had to like reach out to him, and that's when he told me. So I ended up like coming back, and he told me after I got back. So then it was just like, okay, what am I going to do? But by the grace of God, one of my best friends, that same best friend that I roomed with in college, her mother is a realtor in Charlotte.
Okay.
So she helped me buy my condo.
The condo you were staying in?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that,
So it went from...
He tried to kick you out. He said, psych, I got you.
Literally.
This is mine now.
Hey, it was a win-win. I didn't have to move, and, I was able to purchase a piece of property at 22, which is like, that's crazy. So I just think, like, that was my first pivotal moment. I think my first pivotal, like, isolation moment that changed everything for me. Because it's like, if I didn't get COVID and I wasn't quarantined for 2 weeks, and, like, I might have not even moved out of Maryland. Like, I don't know what my life would have looked like. Just to fast forward 3 years later, I'm about to move next month, which is crazy. I've been in the same condo for the past 3 years. And I feel like that's just been a whole chapter within itself that I'm wrapping up. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, that's what brought me to Charlotte. So that was the first one. And then...
Wait, that was the first one?
That was the
We're
first
not going to
one.
dive into the second one yet.
Okay.
We're going to dive into these isolations.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get into them.
Okay.
Right? All right. So we're going to get into them because that was, like, what you said is great. And we want to know, like, what these isolations feel like, what they look like what's really going on, because everyone has a story, right? No one's story better than the other, because literally everyone has one. And I can be honest and I can be vulnerable that the reason I started this platform is, one, because I started writing a book, Accidental Isolation, to express and to explore and show what my isolations look like. As I started to record and as I started to film, I started to understand that, hey, this is my therapy as well. Therapy looks different. And therapy is many different, mediums and forms. And I truly and solely believe that the origin of life begins with story. Everything we know, everything we continue to learn about comes from a story, whether fact or fiction. And that's why this platform is here and it's strong, because people come on to tell their story so that other people can listen and learn from them. So let's dive into this story, right? COVID is in a lot of people's like isolation, right? Especially our age. We're around the same age. We're young adults, in our mid to high 20s, whatever. So COVID affected us a lot. Me personally, I graduated in COVID. So like 2 months before I was supposed to graduate, 3 months before, like they was like, yeah, you gotta go and you gotta leave in 3 days. So like how did COVID look for you since we spoke about how you had to abruptly move up to Maryland. Were you graduating? Were you still in school? Like what did that look like for you?
So
Like were you ready to just up and move or
I remember it was spring break. I went to New York. I started spring break out of New York, and then I flew down to Miami. And then that week we got back, that's when like it all hit the fan.
Okay, yeah.
And like
and you were still in school just
I
at
was
spring
still
break?
in school, senior year, and it was a scary time for me. Like, I'm the type of student that in the classroom, I'm raising my hand, I'm asking questions, I'm engaged. My professor knows who I am, but when it comes to like online digital learning, you lost me. Yeah. So I just remember like the conclusion of my senior year. I'm like, damn, like, can I curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, damn, like, I don't know if I'm gonna pass this class because it was like it got to a point where it was like I check out when it comes to digital. So I literally stopped going to class. I just literally gave it up to God. I'm like, they had this system in place where it was like a pass or fail. So it wasn't like
grades,
but it was either pass or fail. So by the grace of God, I graduated. Didn't get to walk, but Greensboro was turned during COVID.
Oh yeah, and because literally for some reason there's 7.2 billion people in the world and 6 of them go to A&T. So it's
it was bad, y'all. It was bad. But so yeah, at the
Black
time,
people, they don't listen.
It was so I was working a job. My lease was up on my apartment though from senior year, so I had to move. So moved back to Maryland. That was fun. I was traveling like
during COVID still though. So he just was hard headed, didn't listen.
Yeah, I didn't listen. It's all right. Don't regret it.
Hey, look, you live and learn. Listen,
yeah,
I
I'm
enjoy
here to
it
talk
myself.
about it, child. So it's like God is good. But yeah, so COVID was fun. I had a lot of fun. It was like fresh out of college, like you know, just free. And then I started working my job. That was remote. That was that was cool.
So do you feel like when COVID hit and now we're abruptly leaving, do you feel like you were still prepared? Like, do you feel like you were ready? Because some people, especially them seniors that year, like some people felt like they was slapped in the face. They were so do you feel like you had a good I would guess like foundation or platform, or you got a place to stay, got a job?
I think because I had an internship with the company that hired me full time. So I went through senior year with a job after college, which I think alleviated a lot of stress.
That's why you can enjoy COVID because you knew what you was doing.
I'm like, I'm good. But so like thankfully I was able to like still just, even when COVID hit, like I was worried about my class, but I'm like, hey, like I'm okay.
And most schools, I think, with seniors, like they, as long as you showed up or you submitted a assignment, they was gonna let you go anyway because it was just
because it was no one experienced that before. Like it's actually crazy to think that we went through.
I wouldn't mind going besides the deaths.
Yeah,
we
could lock the world.
Yeah, but we could lock it up
again.
Sure. I can get anywhere in 5 minutes. Yeah, it was nice.
No traffic, but yeah, I think like during COVID, it was cool. I think like that moment of isolation when I was in a hotel by myself for 2 weeks, like it was hard mentally because I feel like me and my mom, like we weren't in the best place at that time. Okay. So it was like, it already wasn't good that like I'm stressing. I'm like, well, I gave her COVID. I'm literally seeing people like dying, and it's like that was just anxiety within itself. Figuring out my next move because it was like I had graduated planning to move to New York, but then I find myself like, was it really smart to move to New York because it's literally shut down up there? Like, so I was just trying to like figure out my next move. So I just, I think it was helpful that I was by myself.
Yeah,
like I got
hotel. That gave you space.
The space to just work through whatever I was feeling, talk to myself, understand, what I'm feeling. So yeah, it was a hard time, but I think that it just kind of prepared me for like what was to come next. You know,
and that's a great point as well as like isolation in general, whether it be mental, physical, or emotionally, doesn't necessarily mean bad, right? It's not always a negative connotation. Yeah. Like in your situation specifically, like isolation is what was needed, right? Because when I was at home, I was outside. I forgot almost what I was, my plan. I had 6 months, all that was out the window because now I'm comfortable, right? And one of my college coaches used to always, or high school coaches used to always like use this phrase with being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And you were in a comfortable position. And it's really easy to fall into like just the rhythm of everyday
Yeah, the
life, the ebbs and
mundane,
flows, the
just,
mundane.
yep.
And that's not what you wanted with your life, because you went to
Yeah.
A&T, your senior year, you had this internship, you had all these big ambitious goals, and you go back home, and there's nothing bad against the people that are at home,
Yeah.
but it's just that comfortable space that you didn't want to be in anymore.
Exactly.
And being in that hotel gave you that opportunity to sit still, like not have to do so much, and just actually like force you to be with yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that happened in COVID. A lot of people who maybe aren't as aware or aren't as into mental health and into their mental health,
Yeah.
it forced you to sit
Down
your ass
and
down
like,
and
you know,
focus
am I
with yourself.
okay? Like,
Yes.
and really process. And you know, if you're not okay, like you have the space to figure it out then versus like just running, and then you find yourself burnt out or you know. So yeah, I definitely agree that it forced me to sit down. And my parents will
and slow
always
down.
say, like, girl, just sit down. And I think going through that experience, like now I understand the importance of just taking some time out to yourself, locking in with yourself, and just really sitting down. Like just stop and just
Stop.
sit down.
Yeah, like in yoga, we use this phrase. Like, so I'm a yoga instructor, and like I use this phrase often in my classes, especially when we get into like poses like shavasana, or we in like malasana or Supta Baddha Konasana, where you're literally doing nothing, right? In yoga, a lot of times you're moving the body, you're doing all these things, and like there are certain poses where stillness is key, right? Where the action that's needed is literally to do nothing and just be, right? So there's a difference of doing and being. A lot of times in life, like you said, like without COVID, you can be going through whatever you're going through, but you got to go to work the next day. You got to go to school the next day. You got
sure.
kids you got
Don't
to take care
stop.
of. And you don't have a moment to literally just be in the body.
Yeah.
You feel me? But yeah, so you were able to like sit in that hotel and be, and that sparked to like, you know, saying like, hey, let's get back right. Let's
Yeah,
get back
let's
on
make
track
a
with the
move.
6-month plans. So you went home, talked to your mom. Everybody was safe and good.
Yes.
Good. And now let's move to Charlotte. Like let's get the hell out. So you get to Charlotte, and where is your, like you said, it was all remote, right? So you didn't really
Yes.
have stress about work or anything.
So yeah, I work at IBM.
Okay.
It was remote. It's still remote. My office is up in New York, but
So that's what was taking you to New York. So
yeah,
you can be
that's
out.
what was taking me to New York. And plus, I love New York. To this day, I love New York. But I think the older I get, I'm like, financially, girl, don't
Stay
do
down
it.
south.
Yeah, be so for real. So, and I just like the life that I built for myself in Charlotte as well. But yeah, so moved to Charlotte. I still didn't sit down when I got to Charlotte. I was like traveling like crazy, but I think once I purchased my property, it was like, all right, I'm gonna be here longer than expected.
I'm paying a mortgage.
It
I
got
gotta see
real, exactly. So I ended up like, when I was in college, I was managing a recording artist out of Winston, and it's just so funny how like God is just so intentional in my life. I feel like because the artist that I was managing while I was in college, he was in Charlotte one day and he was at the studio. And he was like, yo, like pull up, I got a session. So I ended up pulling up to the studio. They ended up having like this event after his session, and it was like really dope. So I'm like, oh, like I need to get involved. You know, when I moved to Charlotte, I had my college friends, my line sisters, but I didn't have a community, you know, my own community in Charlotte. So ended up talking to the owner and started working at the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked there for about a year. It was like working turned into management, and it was a lot, but I just felt fulfilled because I was getting experience that I hadn't gotten before. I was learning about how Charlotte operates just in terms of like, and I feel like music is the heart of Charlotte. It connects kind of everything in my opinion. So I feel like I was introduced to Charlotte in a really dope way through working at the studio. So that was about a year or so. Things happened, and you know, I feel like although I did learn a lot and I grew a lot, it wasn't necessarily the growth. After a certain point, it wasn't the growth that I was looking for, I would say. So it kind of forced me to like step back and go back into isolation. Figure out, you know, like what do I want for myself? I feel like I spent a lot of time, and my mom would always tell me this, and I feel like this is why we kind of clash sometimes, because it was like, she's like, you know, I know you can do it. I know what you're capable of, but like, one, like you have to do things for you. Like I feel like I spent a lot of time investing into other people's dreams, and you know what I'm saying, what
And it was
they
just a
want.
trade by what you did. Like it was, this is the job I have, so most of my time was gonna go into that.
Exactly. So it was like I just spent a lot of time like investing into other people's ideas and dreams, and ultimately, like, when they might have not given the energy or the effort that I was giving, even though it was their dream, like.
But I can't push your dream harder than you.
Exactly. I can't want it more than you.
Yeah.
So I think I found myself like burnt out, just upset. You know, it wasn't really regrets, but it was like, damn, like I just spent a year. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I know what I'm capable of, but if I'm only limiting myself to a certain capacity to like be in someone else's room, like that's just as far as I'm gonna go, you know? So like I just went into, I think it was like the end of 2022, I really just took a step back from everything, isolated myself, thought about, you know, what do I want? What do I want to see? Like, who do I want to be? You know? And that's when that was the birth of the formula, December of 2022. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that just kind of started your journey into yourself.
Yeah.
And a point to that is, I feel like me personally, right? Because we only could speak from our own experiences. Everything else is assumption about someone else. So like me personally, I had to learn that when I graduated in 2020, or like my senior year, that's when I got real deep into philosophy, mental health, and all the things. So my favorite author, Ryan Holiday, which I name dropped one of his books earlier, Stillness is Key. It's just a great book. But I started reading a lot of philosophy. And in my head, it was like, oh, just read more books. And I was reading like 30, 50 books a year. Like I was really getting into it. And then, like, I didn't necessarily see a direct change in my life. And I'm like, wow, I'm doing this. And once again, like, there comes a moment in your life where, like you said, it's not necessarily about growth, or like if you're trying to read to have personal growth or personal well-being, it comes a moment where you need to take a step back and start applying what you're learning, applying what you're reading. And in your story that you were saying, like, I have all this energy, I have all this potential that I'm giving to somebody else. So no matter how high I go, I can't pass their threshold.
Exactly.
So if I'm spending a year hoping you become the biggest star in the world, and you just think you're going to be the biggest star in NODA, not even Charlotte, like it becomes a limit to what you're doing. But you're constantly trying throughout this year to grow and be bigger.
Yeah.
But you can't do that because you're not doing it for you, right? So there comes that moment where you had to, okay, let's take a step back. I did the work. I did the networking. I've built a resume. How do I apply this? And that's where you go into that moment of reflection. You go into that moment of stillness, right? Let's not do so much. Let's go back and reflect on what I've done, see where I might have made my mistakes or where I have done great things at. And also, not everybody, but for you, it was an opportunity to say, oh, I can do this for myself.
Exactly.
And then that's what started the formula. All right. And we are at the wonderful Wentworth and Finn, and we're going to start today's episode with a nice taste testing. We're going to get Liv to come on over and tell us what we got today. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Mo.
Really good.
We're going to dive in. What
are we going to try first?
Yeah, I forgot what she just said, honestly.
Okay, you've got a bourbon butter oatmeal cream pie. You've got a giant chocolate chunk cookie, salted caramel bread pudding, cardamom snack cake, and then a matcha lemon berry roll. Little snail-looking guy.
Which one's this one?
Cardamom snack cake is closer to you.
And that's
The matcha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good. All right, so what you going to dive into first? I honestly don't know.
Me either. I feel like we should go with the one with color first.
Well, I don't eat matcha.
You don't?
I don't do caffeine. I don't do any caffeine.
So I got to taste it.
Yeah, so I'm going to just take your word for that one.
Okay. We're going to see.
Let's move
You
that
know,
out
I'm
the way.
not a matcha girly either.
Okay. Well, see, our last
I
guest,
won't knock it till I try it.
we had macaroons, and neither of us like macaroons, but then we loved
They
them
were
here.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. I got to get a little bit of everything. Okay.
You like it? Okay.
That's good.
Okay, I'm going to try this one. I'm sorry, guys. I completely forgot what she said it was, but it looks good.
That matcha cake is really good.
Is it?
How is that?
That's good. And I know you said you like carrot cake. It's not carrot cake, but it has that spice, kind of like a carrot cake.
Yeah. Try a little bit.
What you think?
Yeah, definitely has
forgot
that
what
spice.
she
Is
was.
good though.
All right. So I've tried the oatmeal cream pie last episode, and it was great.
It was?
It was like the ones you get from Walmart, but like times like 1,000.
Okay.
So it's a whole lot better. I'm gonna try. I forgot what it was again, but the other piece.
Okay, I'm gonna try the
Cream pie. Okay. And it's hard, so you can just
Bite
take
it?
you can
Oh,
just
okay.
have that one. All right, let's see.
That's good. It has some good desserts here.
So if you're ever in the Camp North End area or want something sweet and you're nowhere near Camp North End, make sure you come to Wentworth and Finn and try out something sweet. Or if you just want a place quiet where you can come get some work done, you know, a lot of work from home people out here. So want to get some work done throughout the day. They're always open for you to just come on in and grab a bite. I'm gonna try this one,
Okay.
and then we're gonna see
What is hitting now?
what is. Okay, let's look. Sticky. Ooh, I made a mess. I knew it. Let's see. Ooh, that's good. So that's like a. Oh snap!
I want to taste a little.
Yeah, that hit me. It's like a. At first, it reminded me of like a crumble cake. Then it tastes a little bit like cinnamon toast crunch. Something. It was good though. You like that one? A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
It's
A little
good
too
though.
much?
Yeah.
All right. So what was you out of what
I
we
think
tried
it's the
today?
texture.
The texture. What was it? It's like gritty. Yeah, that's like that crumble cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little on the top. So what would you say was your best thing you tried today?
I think the matcha roll.
The matcha roll?
It's very good.
So you heard it here, folks. If you need some
The
matcha,
matcha roll.
get the matcha roll.
Tell them Mo sent you.
Yes, ma'am. When the formula started, what was maybe, I guess, the idea? Because, like, you did recording artists, you've done all, like, companies, businesses, but, like, you're not a singer, right? Yeah. I mean, you might be.
No,
I don't know.
right?
Right?
If I could sing, I would literally be famous. I promise.
Because of the work you could put in.
Yeah.
So like, what was the so you got the formula, like what's the plan? Like you sat back, you sat in that moment of isolation, you started to realize like, no matter how hard I go, it's not gonna, there's a limit to where I'll go.
Yeah.
So I need to do this for myself. You created the formula, and what was the thought process or what was the idea of this thing?
Yeah, I think it was really big in just me wanting to bring to life things I felt like the Charlotte creative community needed. On two sides. Like, one side is I feel as though Charlotte has a lot of potential. I think in a couple years, Charlotte is going to be like in Atlanta. Like, it's going to be a major creative hub. And just I've been blessed to be able to travel to New York, LA. I'm from Maryland, so I'm right by DC. And I see the level of, I would say, detail, just as far as the marketing. Like, I'm big on design. So like flyers, how people experience your events. Like, I felt like there was kind of a lack of that in Charlotte, and I knew that I could bring that. So like when it came to the first Pimpin' Ain't Easy, like I just was super intentional about, you know, where it was at Be Social, you know, because it's like, I know that's a popular space. The people that I bought in, so like the panelists, the performers, like it was like I just had a vision of like, I know what Charlotte has to offer, and I just want to bring it in one space.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, and I didn't know how it was going to come out, but like it literally exceeded any expectations I have, and it continues to. So I just really am appreciative of the love that I get from the community, and I'm happy that I can create these spaces for the community. But yeah, it was one side of just like, I just feel like there needs to be a standard just as far as like your marketing, you know what I'm saying? Like how you present your business, yourself.
Because that's the first impression. Like
exactly.
That's what people see before they know what you do and who you are.
Exactly. And I feel like as more and more people discover Charlotte and come to Charlotte, like I want their first impressions
to be good,
to be top tier. So they're coming back. They're going to New York and they're saying, yo, they got it going on in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that was like really major for me. And then the other side, it was just personal. It was like, girl, you done did this shit. Like, do it for yourself. Like, literally, it was just, and I think that was a lot from my mom as well. Because it's just so funny, because she just would tell me, like, you need to start your business. And it was just like standardizing what I've been doing for years, but like putting it under an umbrella, naming it something, like, you know, just making it cute with the little bone top. Like, that was the formula, honestly, or is the formula.
Yeah. And like, so I've been here 20, almost 3 years now. Yeah, because I'm like, so I've been almost 3 years now. And my creative journey is weird, so we're not gonna get into that. But like I do like small creators. But one thing I love about Charlotte, and it's thanks to Mo and a lot of the events she hosts, like, and a lot of the older people in Charlotte, right, who are born and from Charlotte, something they always say is that the young creatives in Charlotte are impeccable. Like they are hungry, they want it, and they have potential. And like by the event she's throwing, some of the stuff I'm doing, some of the amazing things a lot of these other companies and businesses in Charlotte are doing, it's making Charlotte, like she said, intentional and detailed. And the creative communities here is just real great. I do want to drop just one little, I don't know what it is, but I just want to drop a thank you, right? Because she said her first event was at Be Social. This, by the time this episode comes out, we'll already have it and it'll all be done. But my very first live event is gonna be at Be Social, and so just thank you to Be Social. Like they are pivotal in like the creative community here in Charlotte with like giving opportunity and just letting the young entrepreneurs like shine and give them a good, good place to start. Because Be Social is a great place. It's a great venue aesthetically. The people there are great, and like you said, it's like a pivotal part in Charlotte.
Yeah, shout out to George.
Yeah, shout out to everybody over there, man. It's really left the studio. Started the formula, right? And you're still here 3 years later.
Yep.
So what happened next throughout life and what happened throughout the formula?
So started the formula strong. I had the first Pimpin' Ain't Easy. The turnout was amazing. I ended up, so that was January. February kind of took some time off. March, I ended up doing an International Women's Month initiative titled Groove, which was really, really dope. I was able to create spaces for women to focus on their mind, body, and soul all month. That was like, it just was crazy because it's like I'm literally just winging not winging it because it was proper preparation, of course, but like I still, even to this day, I'm like, damn, are people going to show up? Like, I kind of have that like imposter syndrome a little bit. So it just was amazing to see like the support that I was gaining, the followers, like social followers and everything. So that was really dope. And then like summertime hit, and mind you, it's not my first year out of school, but summer I travel a lot in general, but like summer is just my time to shine. And this was like my first year as an entrepreneur. And I think one of the first big lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur is like, hey, you work year round. There is no summer break. Like
people want to be entrepreneurs because, I want to leave the 9 to 5. But you're leaving 9 to 5 to join the 24 hours.
Let me not say don't do it, but just beware that even corporate people take off during the summer. Like things slow down. It's cool. So I was still kind of in that like corporate / school mindset the first summer that I had the formula, and I traveled, and it was a beautiful summer, but I didn't continue to grow what I had going, or I didn't continue my momentum. So by the time fall came around, I'm like, dang, like I almost got into a place of like, can I do this? Even though I just did it earlier that year, it was like I was questioning myself. And I remember I did like one GHO event, and the turnout wasn't the best. So that kind of also knocked my confidence with things. So I spent like the end of last year kind of like second guessing myself, like, kind of scared to like pop out again.
So this is 2023?
Yes.
So this summer you're speaking about is 2023 summer?
Yes, summer 2023. Okay. Yeah, so last summer. And I spent like the end of last year kind of like back in the cut, you know, and it was like I would be out and people were like, well, when's the next event? And I'm like, damn, like don't ask me.
Because I don't have an answer for
like, exactly. So that, I had to get over that though. I had to like sit with myself, know like you did this shit before, you could do it again. Like, and like really understand that and just take another leap of faith. So it took me some time because I also like, I spent last year funding my events. It was like I'm blessed to have a good job where I can fund, these events, but I know eventually I want to sustain the lifestyle I want off
with
of
these events.
My creativity, off of the formula. So like it has to start making sense. So like, I spent the beginning of this year like applying to grants. I didn't get any. It's okay. And I didn't let that stop me from still doing events because I'm like, the more the more events that I do, the more people it's going to see, the more I have to talk about, the more results I have. You know, the data, like being able to quantify, you know, what this really means. So right now I'm just in a space of like funding for next year, continuing my events. I was able to host an internship this summer through the formula. And I have 2 interns, and Pimpin' Ain't Easy, which is next Saturday. I know this episode will be coming out after. But Pimpin' Ain't Easy was their summer project. Which was really dope for me. I'm like so excited. I feel like I was an engineering student in college. And my professors will always like joke with me. They would call me Miss Marketing because I'm very like design focused. I'm very like, well, what is it going to look like? How do people experience this? And like, you know, engineers are technical. You know, they care, does it really work? Like, you know.
Because like it looks good on paper, but like, can this be applicable in this? Can this be real?
Are people really going to care about this? You know? So like my professors always call me Miss Marketing. And I just felt like I didn't really have any opportunities for myself creative wise as an engineering student. So like me being able to create the space, no matter what your background is, whether you're in finance, engineering, whatever, like if you find yourself identifying as a creative, like I want to be able to help you with resources and tools and like just hearing things that I wish I was able to hear or have like guidance that I wish I had when I was like starting out and trying to figure out like, you know, I know I'm creative, but like what does that really mean?
How do I quantify that? How do I monetize this? How do I create this living outside of this? And I think like something you did to help start that is you called it winging, but like you know now as from working with other entrepreneurs and other creatives and yourself, like that is what entrepreneurship is. Literally. Like Google started because somebody wanted to try something. Like Apple started because somebody wanted to try something. There was no, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to look, and this is why I was going to do it. Like no, like they were going with their gut, and this is what they're deciding. So you winging it turned into the formula, and it's become a great big thing. You know what I'm saying? And although, like you say, you didn't get the grants now, what you're doing is like not losing that confidence through those moments of isolation. Like, yes, I just got hit. Yes, I got knocked down, but it's not always about when you get knocked down and what goes on down there. Is like if you can keep going, and when you keep going, what's it going to look like on the other end. But yeah, so Pimpin' Ain't Easy, so next Saturday, this is the first summer you were to bring on internship, so like you can actually see the growth in your company. Because a year ago it's like, employees, even though they're they are employees. That's what an internship is. So they're creating this event, and you're able to oversee them. You're able to continue to do what you do in the marketing manager side within your own company, right? So this event's coming up, and it's exciting to see how they put it on and how they do it. And the formula's going strong and it's going good. So we spoke about like your 2 isolations, how COVID affected you, and then how once you actually started to jump into your own business, right, you kind of went through another slump again because like you were in shock. It was like not realizing like, hey, this isn't school. This isn't my corporate job. Like this is my job, 24 hours.
As far as you push it.
Exactly. So taking that summer break, it stopped going because you stopped pushing it. Through those moments, especially like this past summer, what was something that, like, what clicked in you that understand, like, this business won't keep going if I don't run it? Like, what was something that clicked in there?
My mom, and she's going to see this, but that's just, I mean, like, both of my parents are entrepreneurs, but my mom is just, my dad is more easygoing. I think both of my parents know, like, I'm more than capable of, you know, whatever I put my mind to. But my mom just wants to make sure I have, like, the structure. And, like, she's had her salon. She's a hairstylist. She's had her salon for the past 12 years, I think. So, like, I've been able to literally watch her. I grew up in a hair salon. I grew up sweeping hair, even though I didn't want to. But I literally saw her build what she has today. So it's like, but, you know, coming from your parents, it's like, like, you just, you know. But it's like, I know that she means well, but, like, she's just on me. She's like, you know, if you really want this, you got to go through it. You know what I'm saying? You got to do things right. You got to get an LLC, start a business account, your finances, so this next panel is on financial literacy. I feel like my panels are based off of, like, things that I'm actively going through. So, like, really turning your creativity into a good standing business and, like, giving people the spotlight to talk about their journeys and doing that. So yeah, that's like, you know, I feel like my mom is just very like, if you
Yeah.
want it, get it, and it's
Don't just
like,
talk about it.
yeah, don't just talk about it. Like, what are you doing? What are you actively doing? So I think that's really big for me, my community, my friends, like, all right, girl, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and then, yeah, just really, and then also I think myself, like, I know what I want out this life. I can vision the life that I want. And it's just about like filling in the gaps in between that.
Yeah.
And like, just being super intentional about how I spend my time, what I'm investing myself into. And yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up, I want to ask you specifically about certain tools that helped you work throughout your isolation. And the catchphrase of the show is putting tools in the toolbox of others. And the reason why I use tools is because at the end of the day, like, you have to do the work. No matter how much you seek help, no matter how much advice you get, no matter how much growth and things you see, until you start to do the work yourself, you won't see any results. So I like to give the guests something physical to take away so that they can help put in their toolbox and they work through things. So what are some, 2 or 3 tools that you would say helped you throughout your isolation?
Oh, you're good. So I would say number one is my community. So I would say which encompasses my family and my friends, both of my parents. While they know I'm more than capable of doing, whatever I put my mind to, they just ensure that I'm doing it the right way. I'm being structured and disciplined, and I'm really going after what I say I want. Same with my friends. I have creative friends, I have corporate friends, but I just feel like my friends, they're on some shit. Like,
Yeah.
I have friends in great places, and I just feel like that constantly motivates me to just keep going. You know, like, you don't want to be down here,
Yeah.
your friends up here, like, no, we all, like, just we keep each other going. So for sure, my community. I think my faith. I feel like this far, I'm 25 years old. I feel like I really understand, like, God is super intentional. Whether I understand in the moment what I'm going through or I don't, I know that eventually, like, it'll make sense, and like, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, just like I literally have it tatted, keep my joy in my faith. Like, literally, it's not the end of the world. I feel like, and I might have not seen my worst days, but I've seen bad days and I've gotten through them, and I'm here and I've lived to talk about them. So, like, I'll be okay no matter what it is, whether I'm feeling, like, I will literally be okay. So I think my joy, my faith, and my community, the power of just community is real. It's
really
very
huge.
real.
Yeah, I feel like if I had any to pick one, the community is the best thing. Like, that's what's keeping me going with this platform. That's what's getting me to know you. Like, that's like Taylor from A&T. Like, that's how I met you. That's how I heard of you. So it's like, shout out Taylor. I love Taylor. Not just a smile. She, runs a nonprofit
Very
that does
dope.
wonderful work. So it's like me surrounding myself around bigger and better. And like you said, like, people who are in high places, like, you are who you surround yourself around.
Exactly.
So yeah, community is something really huge, and I'm glad that's something that helped you out. I always like to end the show, especially with entrepreneurs, with just giving them a moment to, like, bring about their brand, bring about anything they want to talk about, or just any extra things they want to throw in there. So anything you got to say or anything?
Yeah, I would say just follow us on Instagram at What's Your Formula. Stay tuned for event updates. I'm going to be transparent. Don't know what the end of this year looks like, but it'll look like something.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a lot more to come. Definitely looking to work with any creatives, any brands. I'm here to help, so reach out to me. And I'm just excited. I'm excited.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I appreciate you for coming on the show. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
did it.
Oh, yeah.